Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. And boy, have we got a special show for you today. Oh my gosh. Look who is sitting in. That's right, folks. We're talking Steelers and we're talking five-star matchup. Hey! All
Hello,
right,
and
man. How you doing?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm starting to get really jacked up about the season, and it's always this process, like, of just getting to that place where you're like, oh, like it's almost like a nervous thing where you're like, am I gonna be as jacked up this year as am every other year? And it's like, once those pads go on, man, it's like nothing else matters.
And you hear that pop.
Yep,
Oh
so
man,
good.
I'm telling you. All right, well, folks, the special guest we got here is five-star matchup, and man, the whole reason why it's a five-star matchup is because he's in it.
Oh man,
Okay,
too
okay, so
kind.
there you go. So why don't you tell the folks about yourself and where we can find all of your great stuff, man.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Steve, and I run a YouTube channel called Five Star Matchup. You can find me on pretty much any social platform. But the real meat and potatoes of the show is that I do a weekly Steelers wrap up. Usually comes out the morning after the game. I stay up all night long making it like a crazy person. I write stupid jokes, some kind of good analysis. But I think you should check it out if you're listening to me on here and if you like Steel Flyers and so on. So, yeah, no, I thank you for having me on, man. I'm getting ready to get started
Yeah.
for my third season here.
Oh, and I've already seen the first two shows that you've done so far are just the warm-ups. So man, listen, you folks got to go over there and check him out. Five-star matchup. He's the man. He's got great stuff, especially if you're a Steelers fan, you got to check him out. Great videos and stuff. So that's another reason why I wanted to bring you on here is because training camp we're deep now into training camp.
Yeah, we're in it.
Okay, and Pittsburgh started their training camp. Actually, technically, they started it on the 24th, but it was open to the public on the 28th. Okay,
Right. Yep.
so
I
they
don't think
they
they
were.
did too much those first couple days, probably, right? I assume that was like,
It was shells
yeah,
and it was a lot of walkthroughs and stuff like that. But it was at the UPMC Center there in Oakland.
right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The reason why they were allowed to do that was because they're playing in the first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game. Okay. So that's like 4 days extra that they get to open early, along with the Dallas Cowboys as well, get to do the same thing because they're all playing in this first preseason game.
I know we're all very excited by the way that the Steelers are playing on Thursday. And not to interrupt you, but how bogus is it that again they kind of get screwed on the schedule and they get stuck being one of only two teams? I think, right, that has to play four. Didn't
Yeah.
the league go down to three this year?
Yeah. So, it's like, really? I mean, we
I
we
mean, it's like
lost
a
out
joke
on
at
the
this point.
I know. We lost out on the bye week last year.
Hmm.
That turned into the debacle Ravens mess where they just kept
Little
kicking the can down the
Wednesday
road.
afternoon football.
Yeah, right. Hey, Wednesday at 5 o'clock. All right.
I did
Perfect
see a
time to
stat
play a
though.
game.
This shows you though how dominant football is. I saw a stat recently that I think the Wednesday night that Wednesday afternoon game against the Ravens, was it Wednesday or Tuesday?
Wednesday.
It was a Wednesday,
Yeah.
and but it was like 6:30 or something. It was on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it did better
Still
ratings, I
rocked.
think, than pretty much I think the whole NBA Finals, or at
Yeah.
least a couple
Yeah.
games of it. And I mean, I love hoops, but it just shows you, man, football is king in this country.
Well, it just also shows you that it's a Steelers Ravens game. So
That's true.
it doesn't really matter how depleted the Ravens were or whatever the case was. It's Steelers
Yeah,
Ravens.
people are watching it.
That's right. So that's must see TV there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So all right. So man, there's been a lot of new faces that have come to the Steelers this year, and there's been a lot of turnover, and not just on the field, but off not just on the
Sure.
field as far as players, but guys on the sidelines too have changed, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Significantly compared to what it was last year, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
and quite honestly, I think that this is going to be a completely different team with an actual identity.
I mean, I hope so. You talk about the changes, and obviously the biggest change has been Matt Canada to offensive coordinator, and it's kind of, I guess it's the first time we've really dove into one of these like young, like new agey, like intellectual types that's thinking differently about the sport. And I mean, I'm excited for it. I follow a little bit of college football. I'm not a diehard guy, but I was aware of him just because he was at Pitt and everything.
Yes.
And once he came over to be the QB coach last year, I thought it was the same as Terrell Austin. I thought Terrell Austin was gonna. I thought they were gonna fire Keith Butler eventually, but Keith Butler's done good enough. But I thought Canada was very much a coordinator in waiting because, I don't know. He was an offensive coordinator like in the SEC. I don't think he had to come be a quarterbacks coach for the Steelers.
No,
But
no.
he probably saw that opportunity like any of us. I mean, if he's an offensive genius, he could probably tell what was going on with Randy Fichtner.
I mean, it's funny too because towards the last, I'd say, half of the season last year, you started to see more and more of Canada's influence because
Sure.
you started to see more and more of those
Well, actually, I think it was
cross
no.
motions.
I think it was, not to contradict you, but I think it was the inverse. I think you saw that more early on. Remember, we saw that pretty early on, like the Eagles game. It stopped being effective later in the season because they were just using it as a tacked on element.
Okay.
I think we actually saw it a little bit less because I've actually had people comment at me like, why'd they stop doing the jet sweeps and stuff?
Okay.
I think they were willing early on to try it, and then it was one of those things where it's like, it didn't go like we wanted, so
But what's really scary though is that they were really good at the beginning of the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
They rattled off 11 wins. Look, we
Mhm.
knew that there were some major issues
Sure.
throughout the year.
Yeah.
Okay. And then all of the injuries kind of took over.
Look, nothing that happened in the Steelers last year was anything out of the ordinary, quite frankly.
Agreed.
Everybody, it's so easy to build the narrative of, oh, it's like an over the hill quarterback. They were worse in the second half of the season than they were in the first. So I understand where that narrative is coming from. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
easy to do that. However, like how many times have we seen it? If you watch a lot of football, over your life, almost always the team that's like 9-2, 10-1 that everybody's talking about in October, first week of November, usually that team's not the team winning the Super Bowl. It's usually the case. How many times have the Saints done that? The Saints have done that
Or the Broncos.
in Sean Payton's term, just like, how
Yeah.
many times I've seen the
Yeah.
Saints be 8-0 and
Yeah.
9-1 and do they win the Super Bowl? No, but
No.
and so it's really easy to build that narrative.
Yeah.
But I don't buy in on it.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah,
It's like that curse in hockey where the team that usually wins the President's Trophy, the President's Trophy is awarded to the team that has the most points at the end of the year.
sure.
They never win the cup.
I know. I know. I've always thought that was funny, by the way, as a somebody who came, like, I came to hockey later in my life as a sports fan. I wasn't
Yeah.
raised on it like I was the other sports, but I've been watching hockey since I was a teenager. And it's always struck me that like hockey of all sports awards you just for having the best record. That seems in my mind like the least likely sport to do that. Doesn't it? Like
Hey,
isn't
you would think, but then that's why it's the curse
Yeah.
because most teams that usually win that never win the cup.
Yeah, it's just why would
Right. So,
you I
yeah.
don't know.
But one of the other things that happened, not just in the coaching changes, but there
Mhm.
was a lot of changes on the field as well too.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
of
and
course.
I want to, and I think we need to address some of those changes, especially going into this season. Okay,
Sure.
I'm happy with Canada as being
Mhm.
offensive coordinator because he's not part of the old guard.
Yeah.
Okay, he's one of those guys, like you said,
Yeah.
McVay. He's one of those
Yeah.
up and comers. That's one of
Supposed to be
those.
thinking differently.
Yeah, got a different perspective on the game. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
And watching your video broke it down very well.
Sure.
Showed exactly what we can be expecting to see this coming season with the
Yeah.
Steelers, and they have the talent on the team, in my opinion, to
Sure.
pull it off, especially offensively.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you look around at the skill positions and they're loaded. I mean, how many teams, truthfully, again, everybody wants to put dirt on the grave. How many teams, truthfully, top to bottom, have a better skill position group? Like, now that if you assume that Najee is going to be as advertised, which I think is going to be hard to say he's not going to be. Like, where's the real weakness? I think the receiving core is very solid. I think you can make the argument that they lack a really true number one. I think they got a bunch of number twos, and that's probably a controversial opinion. But and that's not a slight on any of them. I just think they have a bunch of 1B guys, and I'm waiting to see who the 1A is. I think it's Juju, but I don't know if they think it's Juju. I think they think it's Claypool. And I think Claypool, he's got to prove some more to me this year. I thought
I agree.
he had a great season last year and is flashy. Everybody loves him, and obviously I'm rooting for him. But I think you could see him have struggle adjusting this year. To me, he doesn't physically look like, and now he was already a freak, and I'm 5'8" and 160 pounds, so I can't talk. But there, but if you remember back, didn't it feel like there was a physical shift in Juju from year one to year two? Like, and I think that's Tomlin always talks about that. And Claypool to me still looks like the same guy. And so I'm curious if
Same.
he's going to add on to the functional strength and be able to get off
Same.
stuff.
They did the same thing with the running backs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting to see McFarland to have like 10 or 12 pounds on him.
He's been the talk of camp.
Dude, I'm here to tell you, I have been excited from what I have seen from him.
I was admittedly not high on him after last year. I just thought he looked like
I
he was
know.
so lost.
I
But
know.
you know,
Dude has got speed.
he
I
does.
mean, you just can't argue that. You
I've just
just
been burned
can't.
too many times with the
I
Dree
know.
Archers of the world that I don't trust. I
I
don't
know.
trust. I have trouble trusting Tomlin as a running back evaluator because he hits once in a while, but other times he falls in love with guys that are just so mediocre.
I mean, let's face it, the Mendenhall experience.
Up and down.
Come on, really?
I know, but the messed up thing, if you really think about it, Tomlin's been the coach, what, 13 years or 14 years?
Yeah.
Mendenhall was probably the second best running back of his era. Like, right after Le'Veon? Mendenhall was better than Connor,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I'll go with you
Mendenhall
there.
had more. Mendenhall, people sleep on the fact that Mendenhall actually did break some long runs. That was one good thing
And
about
he
him.
was really good out of the backfield. He
Yeah.
really was good out of the
Yeah, he
backfield.
just wasn't like a between the tackles kind of guy.
No,
I
no,
feel
he
like
wasn't.
if he came along though, do you think this is controversial take or not?
I don't
If he
know.
came along like 5 or 6 years later, don't you think he would have been better than he was? I think he was almost like set up for this next generation, this next era.
Oh, like he was like 5 years too early.
Don't you think?
You know what? Because
Can't you see him being a weapon next to like a Kyler Murray or something like that?
yeah, or like a Lamar Jackson being in there with Lamar Jackson or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if he was like a
Or
second or third running, like
yeah.
if he was like
Okay.
if
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
the Gus Edwards kind of a role on the Ravens, I think the guy would be great.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
But he just didn't
Okay.
love football. That was the thing with him.
Yeah.
I think that was admittedly. I don't think he. I think he
Yeah.
said he didn't love it.
And even to this day, he still comes out and says that he has no qualms about the decisions that he's made.
I got respect for people, man. I don't blame you not
Hey,
wanting to
man,
put your physical on the line. I mean, he's probably set for life. Who
you
won?
exactly, but I think you touched it, and you said it right there. There has to. What is the weakness on this team? And I'm gonna point one out that I think could potentially be one.
Sure.
Okay, and I think it might potentially be the O line.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
A,
that would be
a
the.
lot of turnover. Pouncey retired. DeCastro was released. Villanueva off to Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, I hear
Banner
you.
coming back from injury,
I hear you.
major injury, right? a second-year player in Dotson playing guard to take over for DeCastro. They re-signed Finney, right? They got Chuck's coming back, right? So I like the lineup. I mean, I like and I like who they drafted.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, I think, there's one of two ways to look at it. You can play the good cop, bad cop, right? I think you could say it's a completely new offensive line and it's a new starter at every position and it's going to be a rough transition. But I think you could also say, I think we have a tendency to romanticize players that we have a history with and remember them as they were, but not as they are. And you probably picked this up on my show throughout the year. I've really been doing it since I started Five Star Matchup, which is since 2019. And I think Marquise Pouncey has been a pretty crappy center for the last 2 or 3 years, to be honest. And I know a lot of Steelers fans are going to hate me for saying that.
Nope.
But I thought he was kind of not very good, probably since like 2017 was the last time I thought he was really good.
When,
And Big Al, same thing, took an obvious step back last year. Nobody disagrees with me on that one. And DeCastro wasn't DeCastro last year. I think he hurt the pec early and never recovered. He tried to play through it. And unfortunately for him, I mean, it, looks like he's going to probably call it a career, which is, a shame. But again, I think that's just this age of athletes, man. He went to Stanford. Like, the dude's, he played 8-9 years. By the time your friends retire, you're like, what am I going to, I'm going to come make friends with. I kind of thought that was going to happen, and like Vince and stuff. There's so much turnover. Really, besides Ben, Ben, Cam, and Joe, like besides them, everyone on the team that matters is like 24 years old. Like, you're David DeCastro. You're going to start talking about TikTok with Kendrick Green.
No, I don't think so.
You know what I mean?
Because Kendrick Green doesn't even, Kendrick Green's all about that, but
you know what I'm saying. It's just when you think about it, we tend to think about it like it's Madden and every player is just a series of ones and zeros. But at some point, there's the human element, and I just kind of with DeCastro, once Pouncey left, Ramon left, Al left, I'm like, who's he even driving to work with? Like, he
doesn't even know anybody anymore.
Well, but I know him and Al were good friends and stuff. And you know how those things just kind of, I'm extrapolating here, but I think I'm probably not that far from the truth.
No,
right?
I don't think you are at all. But, and especially offensive linemen, because, I was one, right? Mm-hmm. And we are a bit of a different breed.
I'll say.
Okay. But I have to agree with you about Pouncey. I always thought that he was a good center, but I never thought that he was a great center.
We are very much in agreement on this, and my uncle is rolling in his grave as I say that, but I agree. I always thought he was a good center. I don't think he deserves to be in the Dermontti Dawson, Mike Webster conversation.
Not even close. Not even close. He was to me, I think Pouncey's strengths were he was able to read defenses. That was what his strength was. But everything else.
Even Ramon was always calling the stuff at the line.
Yeah.
Ramon was always the guy doing the stuff, whatever it is you do.
Yeah. But I don't know. At the time, the center was calling the defenses, and then I believe the guard or tackle was calling the offensive blocking schemes.
Yeah, I remember seeing Ramon always being the one that's shout out Big Ragu, by the way. I love me some Ramon Foster.
Oh, dude, I'm with you on him, man.
Such
for
a
real.
Good, so just like he's just one of those dudes where you're like, that's a good dude. Like I just know. You know what I mean? Like I love Ramon.
I'm with you on that too. I'm with you. So also, just the fact that a lot of the guys left. Vance McDonald retired as well too. A lot of turnover, but I also agree with you though. I think that the offense is going to be the strength this year instead of the defense.
You think the offense is going to be the strength?
Yeah, right.
Wow, no, I can't see. I can't see that. I can't see that. I can't go that far. I think that
it's gonna be. I'm going to say this. I don't think it's going to be the same offense from last year. This team is going to be a little bit more unpredictable.
Oh yeah. No, I mean,
And
one would
and
hope.
and this is going to be the first year that people are going to see Matt Canada's schemes. And there's going to be teams that are going to be caught off surprise because they're not going to be ready for it.
Well,
Now,
yeah.
I want to see how it is next year.
I want to see how it is circa week 6.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I mean that's the thing. Okay, so it's like I read this great book this summer, right? Not to monologue here, but I read this great book called The Fight by Norman Mailer. Are you a boxing aficionado at all?
I'm very familiar with boxing.
Okay, so I read this. It's about Ali and Foreman, in Africa in '74, whatever it is.
Yes.
It's big.
Yes.
It's one of
Thrilla
those
in Manila
exactly, and
in
it's
my
just
lifetime.
yeah, and it's just one of those things. Boxing, right? Like it's how you adapt to. So it's like you come in with your game plan, and then your opponent throws you off base because they did what you weren't expecting, and it's how you counterpunch. And I think that's going to be that's the important thing when you make a transition from being, a college guy to being a pros guy. I'm not denigrating college football as a sport, but I am going to say I think the other 31 offensive coordinators in the NFL are probably on average better than the guy calling plays, wherever. I mean, shoot, LSU, they get games against like Colgate or whatever, in September. Like it's easy to put up 75 points. But the NFL, you're talking about, 31 defensive coordinators that are thinking on the very highest level. And for me, it's how is he going to be able to counterpunch once they figure it out?
Okay, I'm with you on that. How is he going to be able to counterpunch? Because look, let's face it, it's easy to scheme out flash plays,
Sure.
right? That's
Yeah, you
easy.
trick people. You could trick people a few times on motion stuff, but what about when they start seeing it coming?
And or what about what happens when suddenly now they run right down the field and score?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time. What do you got? You know,
Well, and here's, it's really another interesting thing to think about that I've been kind of pondering lately, right? Is what happens. So like you said, so they go out and somebody scores real quick and you got to answer. What happens like in the 2-minute drill or those kind of situations? Do you really see like Ben must have some kind of package in this thing that's like his little folder of stuff because no, but you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking
yeah,
about
yeah.
this and I'm like we've been watching Ben run the same no huddle effectively, admittedly, but for 17 years now. I don't know, like when you get into those situations, I mean, am I really like, is my 17-year quarterback really looking at his wristband and
I mean, do I really have to call plays in at that
but
point?
you know what I mean? Like, and so what's going to happen? I'm really curious to see what's going to happen when Ben has to go into those moments, where he's having to adapt his thinking to fit the tools at his disposal, which in this case is the Canada offense. I don't know. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, right?
You know what though? I'm gonna say this.
Maybe they find harmony.
I I really, this is one of the things that most people don't even mention about Ben Roethlisberger. How many offensive coordinators has he had?
I think by quick count, I would say he's had. Did he have? Was Malarkey still here for his first
Yep.
year? So
Yep.
Malarkey, Wisenhunt,
Arians.
Arians, Haley, Fiechner. So he's on his 6th with Canada.
Okay, so how many? Just curious, just because I'm
Mm-hmm.
throwing it out there. How many coordinators did, say, Peyton Manning have?
I don't think he had very many. I think that was the same guy for a lot of it, right?
Right? Because he
Yeah.
played in Indianapolis for so long. How many coordinators has Tom Brady had?
Yeah, well they have a weird thing over there in New
Yeah,
England where like
you see
sometimes
what
it's
I'm
not
getting at here,
always.
though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it's
so
not like he's been unstable or anything. I wouldn't say that that's like
right.
he's run the same offense pretty much since Haley
Well,
showed up. Like the Fiechner offense was the
exact.
same offense. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. So
know,
what I'm thinking is this. I'm hoping that this is a completely different side of Ben that we're going to see here with this different offense. Because I hope what I'm hoping is the reason why I'm saying this is that I'm hoping to see Canada take advantage of the guys that is on the team.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if
I
he
mean,
does that,
yeah. Yeah, I
this
mean,
team could be quite successful. And I think we could see a different side of Ben because he doesn't have to be.
no.
Why is Ben
No, I mean,
throwing the
look at
freaking ball 45, 50 times a game?
the
Why?
look at the horses that are coming, that he's going into battle with. You're talking about these guys, especially with the jet sweeps getting involved, and you're talking about now you're looking at the physical specimens, right? Okay, so we're talking about Najee, Juju, Claypool, right? Just on that like sort of power, even
Right.
Freiermuth is in that kind of a box.
Ebron's in that same box.
And then but then you
Or
got
as you like to call him, the Brontosaurus.
the Abrontosaurus,
The
yes, of course. Shout
Ebrontosaurus.
out Abrontosaurus. No, and then you have the Deontay, you have the Ray McLeod, you have the
The
Anthony
speed.
McFarland. So you have these things, and they're there. I mean, I'm getting excited thinking about seeing Juju take the ball like rugby style out of the backfield. I mean, because to me, like I've been, the
Yeah.
kids call it a stan. I've been a Juju stan since day one, and I am always pounding the table for that dude. And I thought
Yeah.
he last year went out there and really, like more so than anyone on the team besides Roethlisberger, tried to put the whole thing on his back. And he's a wide receiver. You can only do so much. But that
Yeah.
dude, don't ever criticize him to me because he put his head down and got his yards every single catch last year. Nothing but love.
Um, one of the other things too that I'm quite impressed about with Juju is his humble, youthful, enthusiastic.
Oh, sure.
He's very, but he's not like a diva.
He is smart. He
Okay,
is a smart man. He knows exactly what he's doing. And
exactly.
I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I believe this strongly. If Juju is still playing past like 30 or 31, I would be very, very, very surprised. And that's not a knock on him. I just think he's going to be one of those dudes that's going to be like, you know,
He doesn't need to.
no, he'll get some big contract this year, whether it's with the Steelers or somebody else, because I think he's going to have a monster season. And
Yeah,
he'll make a bunch of money. And you know how much money he makes? He literally makes way more money off the field than he does on. And I mean, am I wrong? The second he retires, that dude could be on whatever channel he wants. It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah.
Anybody will hire him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's already bringing an audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's already
So
got an
smart.
established audience.
Him signing back with the Steelers, everybody was like, "Oh, it's such a great team move and all that, and it means so much." And like, I agree. Like, I loved it, and it meant a lot to me as a fan. But also, it was his smartest play.
He
Why
doesn't
not?
need. He
Yeah,
doesn't
why
need.
change who you need to root for you, right? Like, they're your followers in this day and age. Like, Antonio Brown did the exact opposite of that, and all of the millions of people that followed him for all those years, he built up those networks. Guess what?
Went away.
We all literally hate him now.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, yeah.
that worth a trade-off of making an extra one or two pre-tax? Juju sat there and said, "Nah."
Nope.
Right? I mean, the
I
kid is
mean,
smart, dude. The kid
yeah,
is
dude.
smart.
I'm with you.
I give him a lot of credit.
I do too. So we're both very excited about the upcoming new offense. Let's
Hmm.
talk a little bit about the upcoming new defense.
All right.
Okay. Because there is going to be some upcoming new defense. We had Vince Williams, Vinny Vici, hang
Hmm.
up the cleats.
Pour one
And,
out.
yeah. And
A legend.
yeah, for sure. Mucho apreciado, sir. You get the salute, man, for sure.
Absolute modern Steeler legend, in my opinion. I
I
love
agree.
him. Put him in the
Yep.
Hall of Honor.
I'm with you. He's never going to be a Hall of Fame player, but I'm
No.
with you. Hall of
He
Honor.
can go in the Hall of Honor, though. He
Yeah, yeah,
deserves
yeah.
it. He
Yeah, yeah.
embodied that spirit
Yep.
throughout this last half a decade more than anybody,
I
in my
agree.
opinion.
And
Yeah.
carried it through more than
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And also,
yeah.
guess what? He's gonna be back in like October. They'll get an injury.
Yeah,
You know, UG3 or
yeah,
somebody will get hurt, and Vince will be working out. I couldn't you see it? Can't you see it?
yeah, yeah,
You know, when you have the offensive linemen where like suddenly they drop 30 pounds and they can't play. But Vince, I don't
yeah.
know, man. I can see a world. I'm not hoping for it, but like, you know, Spillane gets hurt or something. You know,
Something.
he's gonna miss
Yeah.
6 weeks. I could see it. I could
Okay.
see it.
All right. All right. I'm holding you to that right now. Right.
I
I'm
could see it.
marking it right down. Okay. But with the loss of Buddy Dupree from the 8063,
Richest man
and
in the universe, as I say.
uh,
The
but
guy balled out 2 straight franchise years. Good for him. Earned that
yeah,
paper.
dude, and he is right. 'Cause I'm gonna be excited to see how things work out for him in Tennessee.
I can't have any ill will towards him.
I
I
know.
got so much love for Bud, man. I
I
was
know.
in his camp from day one, and so many Yinzers wanted to throw him in the garbage. And I always had love for him. I knew he was going to be capable of being that guy, and I'm so glad he proved he is.
I had my doubts, but I'm glad I was proven wrong.
I'll tell you, man, I was watching some tape the last couple days because I'm working on some recuts of last season's episodes. And man, those first like 6 weeks, Bud Dupree was as good as anybody on the field. And don't let anybody tell you any different. It wasn't because TJ had doubles or whatever. Bud was beasting people. I mean, he was pushing tackles around like they were soup cans, okay?
There you go. That's
The
way to
guy's
put
a
it.
physical monster.
Yeah. And he definitely has that first get off real good too. He's really fast in that part too.
Yeah,
He's
he's a
got
beast.
speed. Oh my
He's one
gosh.
of those dudes. Whatever sport he played, he could have. Couldn't you see him being like a small forward? Like, you know, he could play basketball. He could do anything. The guy's just a freak. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'm also Bush coming back from his major knee surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I know they re-signed Spillane.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in Ingram from the
Yep.
Chargers,
Great
right?
pickup. Very smart.
Dude, yeah, I'm with you on that. I
I
really
think
like that
I
pickup.
might have gone Justin Houston, but I think they wanted Ingram instead of him
Yeah,
just because he's got a little more position flexibility.
yeah. He plays a little bit more because he could
He's
play
done like the
inside or
middle. He's
outside.
done the middle a little bit. He's done D end. So like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I figure they probably just wanted the flexibility.
Exactly, exactly. Especially when they go into their dime packages and their bigger packages, he
Mm-hmm.
can be that flexible guy where if he needs to put his hand in the dirt, he can.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm with you on that for sure. So had some losses in the backfield.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah.
Sadly.
All right, so what's your take on this defense this year, man? I mean, I
Well,
know we got Minka back and I know we got Edwards
yeah, yeah.
and Joe's coming back too, but what do you think, man? Give me your take on this
Yeah.
D.
So I think they've built a system, especially in their front seven, when you compare their front seven and their back end, right? So they've very quietly over the last 5 years, Tomlin's been very smart about this. I give him credit when he deserves it. I give him flack when he deserves it. He was smart and then he realized they were really having a lot of trouble grooming cornerbacks, particularly
Mm-hmm.
guys that could stay sticky and man on man, you know, man to man
Yeah,
coverage.
yeah, yeah.
And I think he realized that. They pounced on Hayden when the second he became a free agent. Still one of my favorite Steelers non-game days of ever. I was so hyped when you saw the rumors, and then it was like, oh, it's like happening, and I was like, oh.
Dude, I wanted when
I'm
he
such a
was
Joe
available
Hayden
to be
guy.
drafted,
Yeah, I
I
know.
wanted to steal. He was what, two or
He
three
was
picks?
he was earlier. He got picked a little earlier than
Right. Oh boy, I
No, but
wanted
he
him
was
so
somebody
bad.
even back then. I remember getting mocked to the Steelers, and yeah,
Yeah.
um, but no. So they were. I think that, and then you look at the hiring of a guy like Terrell Austin, and I think Tomlin was able to take a little self-criticism there and say like maybe we're having trouble, maybe I don't know exactly what it is I'm looking for in a defensive, defensive back. Maybe I'm, whatever. And so they brought those guys in and they've made a conscious effort to change that position. And I think you're seeing it continue with Cam Sutton this year, where he's going to be stepping into, a bigger role. I've always been a big supporter of Cam Sutton. I think he has the potential to be like a big money player, to be honest. Like, I think, and not only this is a low key controversial opinion, but I actually think Tomlin knew that too. And I think Tomlin tried to keep him. I think Tomlin tried to keep him under wraps a little bit, because he knew like the way this is like, okay, so I have Hayden, we just signed Nelson, like I have Hilton for the slot. Like, why am I gonna put Cam Sutton out there putting this like super sticky coverage on tape? Because Cam Sutton, going back to his rookie year, he played a lot in that game against the Patriots that we won.
Yeah.
And he actually did pretty good. Or was that the one we lost? That was 17 is the one that was a Jesse James game, but he played and actually did pretty good in that game. And I remember thinking, oh, that guy's got like, he's got man coverage. Like, he knows how to play. Whereas like we've always struggled with those. We've just never had those kind of guys.
I agree.
So I think he's going to be good. I think it remains to be seen at this point as we're recording, like what they're going to do in the slot. So there's, talk of, are they going to bring somebody in to play the slot? Maybe it's like Antoine Brooks, the guy from Maryland, or Arthur Mollett, I know, is a guy they brought in, and whatever they're going to see. But I think what they're going to end up doing, they're going to not want to do this, but what they're going to end up doing is pushing Sutton in, and bringing in, I think, James Pierre to take Sutton's spot in the nickel. So I think you'll see Sutton playing a hybrid sort of inside outside kind of a role, because I just think that's where I don't see the other slot corner on the team, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't either, because I was trying to hope it would be like Marcus Allen, you know what I mean? Because but he's just
full in on him as a linebacker now, dude.
Yeah,
he's gonna make the team again as an inside linebacker. I know you and me have talked about this before. I'm a supporter of that experiment. I think that dude can play football, man. I'm not saying he's, the greatest thing or whatever, but he's another year of working at it. God forbid D Bush goes down or something. He can play that role. Like, maybe he's not going to be perfect, but I'm a supporter of that.
Okay, I mean, because he's a linebacker that can cover.
Yeah, well, he came in as a safety, and then last year they put him.
He's also a hitter.
Yeah, well, I love that guy. I think he's just one of those guys like we've always had, where you have the Chidi Awomas, the Clint Crewalts, those the Jordan Dangerfield, which is the one that like I love Jordan Dangerfield. I want a Jordan Dangerfield jersey. I was really hoping they'd bring him back, but
Oh well,
but no, I love guys like that, and so I think the defense though, I think. It's people are rightful for being worried about the cornerback situation, because Nelson is a pretty good player and he's gone, obviously, and Joe is another year older. But I didn't see an inclination that Joe was dropping off last year. I thought he was still excellent. He's not a number 1 or 2 or 3 cornerback in the league, but he's a guy who knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And again, when you have that front seven with those pass rushers, you got Cam, Tuitt, Alu, TJ, Melvin Ingram, Alex Highsmith, Devin Bush, and then you got Minkah Fitzpatrick on the back end, just setting that stuff up. To me, I don't know if this is a controversial decision, but you ask the average person, I think they would say TJ Watt is the best or most important player on the Steelers defense. I'm sorry, TJ Watt is outstanding. He is absolutely phenomenal. The guy that on this team that they most could have not afford to lose is Minkah Fitzpatrick.
I'm with you. I agree, 100%.
Minkah Fitzpatrick locks down. He changes everything.
Yes,
he changes everything.
If he's not there, then there's no
the drop off between him and whoever the next person would be is greater than it is between Roethlisberger and Rudolph. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that, but I think it's true. I always just stream of consciousness.
No.
That
who
was
the next person is,
but I mean, right though. I mean, Minkah, I really believe that he just his mental ability being back there makes everyone so much better.
I knew that's exactly where you were going, man. I knew that's exactly where you were going because
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
I just think he's special, man. I think he's
I
a
do too.
special player.
And I think that with what Minka does by keeping teams from taking
Yep.
the roof off the top of us allows guys like TJ
Yeah.
to blossom because now quarterbacks have to stand there and bounce around a little bit
Yeah.
longer
Yeah.
because their guys are covered.
Well, no, I think that was really the secret sauce. That was the secret sauce. I think that when this defense made a transition to being great again, right? Because
Yes.
we're so in the moment as Steelers fans that we have such a tendency to be like, defense is our identity. Like our defense is great again, and suddenly forget that the defense sucked for like most of the last decade. and and but it's true.
It's true.
And I think that we have a tendency to kind of forget that. And when we made that transition was the Duck Hodges year, the Mason Rudolph Duck Hodges year, where they were just like, all right, you know what? We traded for Minka. We're not giving up on this season. We're going to just, you know what? I know Tomlin was in the defense's ear every day of every practice. Y'all are the ones that are going to win this. Like if we're winning, it's on you. I guarantee you that's the way he was coaching. And it worked to the tune of winning, 8 games. But that point where it changed was when you had the defensive backfield that could make the quarterback think for just 0.4 seconds longer. And it changed everything. Even though they got sacks before that, they got those sacks with blitzes. The sacks they got in the last 2 years, a lot of them are coverage sacks.
Yeah.
Like, that's not taking anything away from the pass rushers, but the coverage has been solid the last 2 years.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. So some concerns, but some pluses on both sides of the ball. All right. So now let's do a quick little breakdown here. We got the first preseason game is jumping off here on Thursday, and they've already announced that Mason Rudolph is going to be the starter of this game.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I saw some tweets that went out there, and I saw some of the tweets that you did, and I basically put it out there, and I'm just going to say it. Food for thought. The next quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers after Roethlisberger is not on the team right now.
I think we disagree there. I think if I had to put my entire 401k on a bet, I think the most likely bet is that Mason Rudolph is probably the starting quarterback in 2022. The second most likely option is Roethlisberger continues to play.
Well, this is why we do this, right? Because we agree to disagree on things.
Well, I mean, look at it logically, though. Rudolph is the only guy on the roster. He's the only quarterback. They gave him a little deal right on draft day to extend him beyond this year, which was super smart, by the way, just in case he has to play. He could have had them over a barrel for $20 million. I mean, I don't know. What's the case? I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be the starter for the next 10 years, but I mean, I think he's the most likely starter in 2022.
Okay, I can respect that. I really can. Okay, but
because Tomlin loves system. There's something to him about being in the system for a while. Even if they drafted a guy, I still think if Rudolph was on the roster, he would probably start the season.
I can respect that. He's been in the system, even though it's a different coordinator. He's been with the Steelers.
He's been in the building, as Mike T might say.
No. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. In the building, in the system. I get it. He knows how the Steelers work, right? It doesn't matter who the coordinator is. He knows how the team works. He's been in the system. He knows what's going on. But I'm telling you something, man. This is what I see. I see something missing up here in Mason.
He is certainly a divisive figure.
I am missing. He doesn't seem to have that clock in his head. Okay, that quarterbacks have, that when you hike the ball to the quarterback, whether it's a drop back or a shotgun, that clock's got to be running, right?
Yeah.
And for him, it just doesn't seem like it is.
I mean, I agree. I've heard that obviously like levied against him as a charge many times. And I agree. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I ever think like Mason Rudolph would be a high-end starting quarterback in the league, but I think if you did have a smart offensive mind with him, like if Canada proves to be a good offensive coordinator in this league, I think you're going to tell me he can't do what Jared Goff did, where Sean McVay's in his ear till 5 seconds before the snap telling him exactly what to do. I mean, he's got the arm. You don't think he has
Yeah,
he has
yeah,
the
yeah,
arm talent. You can't tell me he
yeah.
doesn't have the arm. The
No,
guy
no,
can
no,
sling the
never,
rock. I mean,
never questioned that. All right, never
I think you
questioned
just
his arm
simplify
strength.
it. You give him like a Big 12 style offense. I think the kid could do it.
See, I think that's where you have to be the key right there.
Yeah.
Is you have to take the pressure off of him and not make him be the centerpiece. Number
Yeah.
two, if you simplify it, make it like the Big 12 offense, like he came from,
Yeah.
right? Because he's already got his boy to throw to. What?
I know. Even
Okay.
though actually they never have any chemistry when they
I
play
know.
together.
It's like, are you kidding
It's been
me?
one of the most bizarre things. Well, Jay
All this
Wash had
chemistry
better
we had in
chemistry with,
college.
yeah, Washington had better chemistry with Duck.
Yeah. Like what's
Deontay is
going?
Mason's
I
guy. There,
know.
that's his guy.
But I just okay, I'm with you. He could be a starting quarterback if they simplified it, if they made this, if they did these kinds of things, blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah blah
I
blah
get
blah.
your point. Your point is taken. He's not, somebody you want to go into a decade saying this is going to be my guy for 10 years. No, I don't have any
Okay,
illusions
so
about that.
let me roll this by you then,
I
all
think
right?
he's a Nick Foles, one of these guys that can be a
Really?
starter, but
Really?
well, Nick Foles is just, lucky, as we
Let
all
me
know.
roll this by you then, all right?
All right.
Okay, so you're on the Mason Rudolph wagon. Okay, let me roll this by you.
All
It's
right.
2022, right? The
Yeah.
team is 9-7.
Yeah.
We're a wild card team,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're rolling into Cleveland, baby. Right? And you
Yeah.
want Mason Rudolph?
I mean, hey, you know what? The guy, if he earns the job and all those things, I mean, I'm not saying it's what I want. I'm just telling you the
Okay.
unfortunate reality is
Yeah, I'm
I
with you.
think it's the most I think it's the most
Yeah,
logical.
cheapest.
I don't think he's going to be a starter for 5 years. I just think
Mm-mm.
there's a very good chance you see him be the bridge guy here after Ben. And I think
That's
there's a chance it
perfect.
could not be horrible. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying,
All right.
you know,
Okay. All
I'm
right.
the
Okay.
internet's number one Mason Rudolph supporter, but
Look, I like the kid out of college. I thought he was
oh, I was hyped when they drafted him.
yeah.
I thought he was great in college.
But then when I got a chance to watch him start and play and just
Yeah.
well, All right. So the
Can I
first
pose one?
preseason.
Can I pose one to you actually?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yes. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
here's somebody that I've really been kind of like, something that I've been mulling around in my brain. Um, I think it's a really interesting year. I mean, for so many guys on the team, you can write stories ad nauseum, but I think one of the guys that has such an interesting story going into this season is Deontay Johnson.
I
And
agree.
that's not like a, like, oh, that's not some crazy hot take. I understand. But I just think it's that moment in his career where it's like what is he? And that's not to take anything away from him. I never wanted to be hard on him. He seemed like he was just having trouble last year, and it gets in your brain and so on and so forth. I never try to be hard on guys like for mental stuff because I sit in my office in my boxer shorts and make stupid YouTube content. They're out there risking life and limb. So I don't talk trash about them. But I just think from the perspective of a fan, what is Deontay Johnson? Is he a number one receiver in the NFL? Like, I don't know. Is he a number two receiver? Is he a slot receiver? Is he a guy that you can rely on for 100 catches? I don't know. I mean, it seems like Ben and the Steelers have wanted to make him into the next guy to take AB's position, but and he does have that X factor of being able to create space. He can do that. But who is he?
Okay. You are a wide receiver. What is
Hands.
your number one job?
Yeah. I know you got to
What
catch the
is your
ball.
number one job?
Well, you could argue the number one job is getting open. Number 2 job is catching the ball.
Number 2 job is to catch the ball.
Because you can't do that one until you do the first one. But
That's right.
I see your point. I'm busting your chops, but you're right. No, you're right, and that's the
when
question.
He shows me that he can catch 100 balls a season, and I don't care if he doesn't have 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I don't even care if he catches 100 balls. Right. I want to see him catch the stuff that he's thrown to.
Yeah.
70% of the time, more so than what he was.
Yeah.
When you show me that, then I'll believe the hype.
I think they're in an interesting position with him because this is now his 3rd season, right?
Yeah.
So this is really his. Just, I mean, taking the Steelers out of it, for him, I mean, the way these rookie contracts work, you're always thinking in 4 years, and like I just don't know what he is yet. He's a weird thing because Steelers fans have loved him since day one because they were like, oh, this kid out of Toledo, like we're so good at drafting wide receivers and so on and so forth. But like he's had these troubles, and I just don't know who he is. To me, I think they should move him into more of a slot role, even though he is special on the outside with the ability to create space. But I just look at the Steelers offense as it's constructed, and I think you just like have those giants on the edges with Claypool and Juju, which Juju's not as tall, but he's a monster. And you have Deontay and Ray Eaton underneath, like I don't know. I think they have him a little miscast.
When you take
I don't know why they're so set on Juju being in the slot. I don't think he needs to be there.
Because maybe that's a Ben thing. We don't know.
It could be.
When you take off the fan glasses and you put on the analyst glasses.
Yes. Oh, I don't have my glasses on today.
Right.
I have no glasses on today.
I know. So you're going El Natural. So when you take off the fan glasses and you put on the analyst glasses and you say, well, all right, so Juju is targeted like a number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the perception because he's targeted.
Yeah.
Now, I think you're going to see Claypool is going to share in that this season, where I think you're going to see him play more of a role in the offense. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's just a natural progression, right? I mean,
right. I think they're going to give Dante the chance, okay, to be the slot.
Yeah.
I think that would be perfect for him because he has the tools.
He has a special ability to create space. Yeah. No, he has an uncanny ability to create space that is certainly special. But I don't know if he's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of him like if he was on the free agent market. I'm not sure what a team would sign him for. Like I'm not sure what where he would be ranked in the league, Do you
remember when we had Eli
Rogers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of him.
Yeah, I think he's got more top end.
Eli had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But he never came to fruition because he couldn't catch the fracking ball.
Yeah, well, and he was always in Tomlin's doghouse. Tomlin never liked him for some reason.
Right. But you got to catch the ball, dude. When it's 3rd and 9 and you're standing on the first down marker and the ball's in your hands, that needs to be a first down.
No, I agree. I mean, and there was a number of those last year that were just killer drops. I mean, that whole Buffalo game got off to such a weird start because one of the things they did in that first series, the Steelers, I call this out in my show all the time, but they like to prove points to themselves on the field.
Yeah.
And Tomlin has been so guilty of this, and Cowher was guilty of it before him, where it's like, it's almost like this self-fulfilling thing where it's like the media coverage all week will be like, oh, like Ben is he doesn't want to run, he doesn't want to be under center. And then like the next week they'll like open a series and he's under center for 3 straight plays. And you're like, really? Like you had to like just make that point. And that Buffalo game, they did that with Deontay where they threw, I think it was the first or second play of the game, they threw a wide receiver screen to him almost to make the point of like, oh, Deontay, we're going to give you get you going. And not that it's a bad thing. I get it. I'm not a coach, but still it was just one of those things where it's like, really, like you're taking like
Yeah.
the radio narrative into a game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they do that
I'm
sometimes,
with
and
you.
then I don't know. I
I
hope the
got you.
best for Deontay.
Yeah.
I think he's an
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting
Yeah. Yeah.
case.
I
I think
agree.
he's an
I agree.
interesting case.
All right, man. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I think we got quite a review here of the Steelers coming into in training camp right now. Their first preseason game is coming up on Thursday,
Sure.
and looking forward to that. The starter's probably not going to play much, you know. Preseason's going to be what it is. Hopefully, we'll be back around to do this again for a little bit more. So why don't you tell the folks where we can get you and where we can find you and how we can see all of your great 5-star matchup videos?
Sure. So you can find me on any social platform, but most importantly, YouTube, at 5-star matchup. There's some new stuff going out throughout August, but mostly we're gonna kick into high gear in September. Hoping for a ton of growth. We built a great community last year, and it's very sort of, collaborative. Everybody in the comment sections are super cool. So like, I'm really just trying to build whatever it is I'm trying to build. I'm trying to do a good job of it. So I hope you'll check it out and stick around all season. And I
For
think
sure.
I think maybe me and you will do this a little bit more too. What do you
I
think?
think I think maybe we will. We
That'd
might.
be a good idea.
Yeah, I think we might see how this blossoms. I think we planted a little flower today, so we'll see how this goes, right?
Yes.
So, man, I'll tell you what though. Thank you very much for being on here. Really love the commentating and the
Anytime.
back and forth, man. This is great. Two great, very passionate folks here that have a lot of knowledge about this team, and we would just like to pass that on. So we really appreciate you checking out the show. Please hit the like and subscribe. Thanks for watching us. You can catch me online at www.steelflyers.com, and you can check me out on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Just remember, folks, stay safe, stay strong, and hang tough.